Greeting all. It must be noted that the preliminary step of teaching performances is to get to know about students' learning differentiation. In fact, when you stand on the stage for the first time, you are going to notice that student A is more competitive than student B, or student Y is unlike student X. On that ground, you are dealing with mixed ability classroom environments. So the term is mixed ability classroom. I am going to explain this kind of concepts which has to deal with the classroom environments. So mixed ability classroom. Right? What do we mean by mixed ability classroom? Simply, when you get involved in a classroom environment, you are automatically going to discover certain criteria that are targeted to students. These criteria are related to students. Some of them have strong educational background, other not, so they differ from one to another. This is the meaning of mixed ability classroom. What about teacher? How he is going to discover this kind of multiple abilities, multiple competencies, and so forth? The first thing you need to consider as a teacher, you should necessitate qualities, teaching qualities, and what is called teacher supervision. So, teacher supervision. What do you mean by teacher supervision? Teacher supervision presupposes that language or any kind of materials you are dealing with is related to the target audience. Obviously, your target audience are students. This is the meaning of teacher supervision. The supervision, simply put, you are going to have an in-depth or a thorough observation about the characteristics of each student. Obviously, they are not the same, as I said at the beginning of this episode. So we need teacher supervision to observe, to see what kind of characteristics, what kind of learner's profile he or she is dealing with. So we need to observe, to highlight what kind of characteristics, what they need, etc. So from this part, we will go to another step or another element, which is called students' learning analysis. Students' learning analysis. After you observe in the first stage, observe all the kind of criteria that each student has, you are going to move to the next step or the next process. This process or this step has to deal with the analyzing the student's learning process. how they are going to learn. For example, if you give them a lesson for the first time, you will notice some students did not adapt with what you are presenting. They did not cope with your materials you already provided. So here, it gives you an idea about the learning needs or the learning analysis you need to do before presenting your task or your lesson, so that you will provide how we can say it, a similar version according to their own level and own expectation. This is the meaning of student learning analysis. From learning analysis, it conducts us, learning analysis conducts us to another process or another element. So it has several steps. Now we move to another step. This one is called contents analysis. So I will explain the meaning of content analysis. When you analyze what your students need and what kind of level they have acquired or they reach, so you need to provide them with a suitable content that fit their own ability, their own level, their own expectation, and most importantly, their learning style. They need to apply what they have acquired according to their own way of learning. For example, the simplest example about content analysis is that when you give them, for example, let us say you are dealing with literary stream and you provide them with a text analysis. You ask them to have a literacy, to do a literacy test, that deals with phrases, sentences, asking about the writer, asking about etc. Anything that related to that particular text. What you need here is to divide your classroom into several groups or several students into independent, how we can say individual. Individual means you are going to work individually or pairs or groups. It doesn't matter. What you need to do, the major part is to spot the levels of each student, their characteristics, and at the same time their criteria and how they understand or absorb knowledge. So the first thing you need to provide them, for example, as I said, about a literacy test. The students who are more competitive than the others, you will give them a direct question and you ask them to analyze this question from the text and find some kind of answer, analyze the text, anything that you want them to do. This is for competitive students. What about those who are regular or have some kind of medium learner or beginner? Here you need to provide them with the easiest test. For example, the easiest we have, for example, multiple choice, true, false, and they are going to pick up the answer that best fits the text content. For example, you provide them with the 3 answers. One of them is correct, the other one are wrong, probably. This is just an example. Or you can ask them to complete a sentence, or to, for example, provide them with just the first part of your answer and ask them to complete it from the text. This is for beginner. This is just an example. And then you will develop them and give them something interesting after they progress and move to the next level and so forth. As for the skillful learners or competitive learner, you will give them something that seems challenging. They need they have to feel that this text or this test is more challenging and entertaining at the same time. This is called content analysis, right? In some occasion, you might find students who are at the same level, but they absorb knowledge, they comprehend some kind of materials or text or a topic differently. This is logic, okay? Because we are not the same. We come from a different background, different educational. We have how you can say it, different personality, mentally, and our way of thinking is not the same, or assuredly. This is what I am referring to. So we need to analyze content based on our learners' level, based on their own expectations, give them something that they can understand and do it accurately, right? After that, you provide them with something that fits their own level, and then you develop them to the next and so forth, etc. Right? Now, these three processes will give us a beneficial results. So the result, we will have a complete understanding of the target text or the target test, right? This is the overall result. So finally, we will have what is called learning comprehensible achievements. The overall result, you will gain successful learners. They will understand the lesson even though they are different in their own capacity and other characteristics. This is a good way. It seems challenging for most of teachers, but you need to think intellectually in order to adapt your learners with what you are presenting. This is the main. So I'm going to give you a summary about the mixed ability classroom. In a mixed ability classroom doesn't mean you are going to provide different methods at the same time. No, you are going to use a strategy, technique, with emphasizing on one particular method. Some students use a role play, other students may perform it into a dialogue, etc. So you stick with the same discussion. It's about speaking. You're not going to change a methodology. I do not prefer that. 2 methodologies or 3 methodologies, as others say, at the same time is not accurate. We make the learners confused about what you are doing, and they will react unexpectedly. For example, they will not behave, they will not receive or perceive knowledge from you. So you need to provide a suitable method, one particular method, and think intellectually by differentiating or using various test items. This is my own advice, and this is my own idea about mixed ability classroom and how to deal with it. Thank you very much for your kind watching, and see you as always for the